guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you guys don't know, this is my fiance Jacob. I don't know if I've ever had him. I think we've vlogged together before.
Like once.
But yeah, I don't know if you guys know him if you don't follow me on like Instagram or Twitter, but this is Jacob, and today we're going to be doing like a question and answer from like Instagram and Twitter, talking about like our engagement and kind of like our relationship, I guess. I don't want to talk too much and like talk over you.
No, that's okay, go ahead.
So,
it's your channel.
I know, but you're my guest. From Twitter wanted to know if we could tell the story of how we've met. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, and she said she doesn't know if it's been done, but she wants it. So, do you want to take it over?
Well,
I have some things I want to add, but I'll let you.
Well, we both met on Tinder. We're one of those classic, we both swiped right kind of things, and it's worked out. We messaged each other for a little while, and then eventually we went on our first date. Our first date was about an hour and 15 minutes away from my house and about an hour away from hers, and it didn't go great. I was incredibly nervous, and I just had word diarrhea and said some stuff that wasn't necessarily the nicest things you could have said, and kind of put, my own foot in my mouth. So that's kind of how our first date went.
Yeah. So our first date wasn't the greatest. I will elaborate on that a little bit more. So first of all, we matched on Tinder, and that in itself is kind of crazy because we live about 2 hours apart, and if you've ever used Tinder, there's like a 100-mile radius like cap, and he lives over 100 miles from me. So I think what had happened was my niece, her biological family lives over by where he lives, so I think that we would have had to like get in each other's network when I was visiting her family. So I think that's how we first of all got into each other's like realm or whatever you say. And then I ended up swiping right and messaging him. I think he's handsome, but he also looked really familiar, and I couldn't figure out why. And I haven't looked at our first messages. I'm kind of embarrassed to. I want to re-download Tinder and kind of look at them, but I'm probably going to be embarrassed by it. But I think that I said like, you look really familiar. Do I know you? And the reason that I knew him is because this girl that literally dates like every guy that I've ever dated in my entire life, and she actually sent butt photos to a guy that I was dating at the time, and I went a tad bit crazy and messaged her about it. But she had tagged him. She was kind of like talking to him. They had matched on some sort of dating site before I knew who he was, and she was like tagging him on things on on Facebook. So I had already creeped him, but when I creeped him, I was in a relationship. And so I recognized his face from her, so that's kind of how we matched. But our first date, we met halfway in between both of our houses. We went to a mall first that wasn't really a mall. It had like nothing in it. And then we decided to go get food. And like our conversations were really great. And we ended up spending like the majority of the night together. But we had spent so much time together that as we were like trying to leave, I was saying like I was really hungry and I couldn't wait to go home and eat. I had made a comment that I had like biscuits and gravy at home. And he said that I shouldn't eat carbs after 8. And so at that point I was like, this guy's a douchebag. I'm never talking to him again. The reason he had said that, one, he was nervous like he said, but two, he had lost a bunch of weight, and like health and fitness is super important to him. So he wasn't trying to be a dick, it just came across that way because he was nervous. And so I went home and I told my sister like, I'm never speaking to that kid again. I'm never going on another date with him again. And she was like, I don't know, Sabrina, I think you should give him a chance. And now we're getting married. So I think that was a good call on her part and a good call on mine for listening to her. But yeah, so that was the story of our first date. And then we also have a question from Marley. She wants to know, where are you getting married, like type of wedding? How many kids do you want, and when-ish? Boy or girl? Names? Are you worried about birth and motherhood with a spinal cord injury? She wants all the baby details because she's scared to have a baby because she's also injured. We haven't really sat down and done a lot of planning. Like we have a few ideas. We have a few ideas. Like I've been planning our wedding, not our wedding. I've been planning my wedding since I was like a kid, and now that it's like actually happening, I'm trying to go back through and like customize it to fit both of us. So we've kind of bounced back and forth ideas. We're not getting married until October of 2020, October 10th. So we still have a lot of time. The biggest thing is we have to find a venue, and we plan to go tour one shortly. I found like the venue of my dreams, but it's booked on the day that we're getting married, and I don't want to budge on our date. I really like our date. I didn't want to change that, so I gave up the venue, but we really don't have a lot of things planned, and I think somebody else asked about wedding details, so we'll talk more about that in a second. Do we want kids? How many? When-ish? Boy or girl? Names. So So yeah, we want kids.
Yeah.
I talk about how I have baby fever all the time on Twitter, and I think now that like we're engaged, I don't know if it's the same for you, I don't feel like, I'm like, why wait, you know? Like, obviously I want to wait until we're married to have babies, but at the same time, there's not as much, I'm not as scared if it happens, because I feel like there's more certainty. Obviously, even if we're married, there's no guarantee that it's going to last forever, but I feel more certain in our relationship now.
Yeah, I really don't have a preference on...
Whatever God gives us.
Whatever ends up coming out, comes out.
And I don't want to be one of those people. We have names, but I don't want to talk about them until we get pregnant. And I've even told him, like, we've talked about names together. Like, we call our children by the names that we've picked out, but I don't want to say them. One, because I don't want people to be like, you're naming your kid that. That's so stupid. I know it shouldn't matter what other people say, but I'm going to be pregnant and I'm already moody, so I don't want people to change our mind on it. And am I worried about birth and motherhood with the spinal cord injury? Yes. I actually just got off my birth control like right before he proposed to me. And my gynecologist had actually, did you just do something?
No.
Oh, my gynecologist had actually suggested that I go see a specialist just because we're not taking precautions as far as like birth control, because I'm not on any type of birth control right now. And I can talk about why I went off it if you guys want, but like in a different video. But my doctor suggested that I go see a specialist because I have a spinal cord injury. So I've already seen a specialist, and she's kind of gave me like some recommendations to take steps in order in case we get pregnant. But yeah, I'm terrified. More so of the birth, because my doctor told me that people can go into labor with my injury and not know it. But that's why when we get pregnant, I would like to be living with him so that in case something happens, I'll have him. But I have a really good support system, not just with him, but my sister, and like his mom's a nurse. So I know that when it happens, I'll be taken care of and we'll be fine. Do you have any more opinions about babies or? Okay, let's go to Instagram. People, I don't know if anybody else does this. When you post stuff, people don't read the captions and they just comment weird stuff. Okay, so Corey wants to know, since your wedding is in October, are you guys doing anything spooky or Halloween themed for our wedding?
I've not really thought about that.
I'm not either, but it would be cool. I mean, we both...
Yeah.
I want to have, like, the basic girl wedding, like when you think of a typical white girl, that's what I want. But I like spooky stuff, so we may throw it in, but we haven't really talked about it. Are you planning a big one or a smaller one?
It depends. I mean, really, large or small is it's relative.
I think it's a budget thing too. Like our guest list right now, we have set at 200. We haven't actually went through and like decided who we're going to invite and not invite. Jacob had kind of threw out the number 200. I was thinking more like 130, but 200 I think is like a pretty big wedding from what I'm seeing. But I don't want a small wedding. I want to have the big shebang. Like keeps saying like let's just go to he doesn't keep saying but he's like I just want to go to the courthouse and get married. But I know you want to have your big day. I do want a big wedding. I do want to have all of our friends and family there to celebrate with us. My sister wants to know, why should you get to marry her baby sister? I'll let you take this one.
I've actually talked to her about it, and I talked to her about it before I even proposed. I think it's a matter of I love you. I love you more than I could ever express in words, because I also use the same phrase to express my love for pizza rolls.
But I'm cooler than pizza.
Exactly, and that's why I can't explain it. But, you know, I just figured it was time to tell everybody, you know, that, you know, this is the one person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Because I've explained it to other people before, but it's one of those things where, yeah, you can talk it all you want, but until you actually, like, go buy the ring and stick to steps to do it, you know, you're not really, like...
I get that.
Going out there and proving your point.
My sister is my best friend, so like when we first started even like dating, and obviously like I believe that dating should lead to marriage. It's kind of what I was looking for whenever I started dating Jacob. But I had told him like when it gets to that point, if it gets to that point, I would like you to talk to my sister before anything. And he showed me the messages. He did talk to her, and from what I understand, my sister really likes Jacob. My whole family does it, and that means a lot to me. So yeah, I think she's just trying to be funny though. Okay, so, hi baby. Kylie wants to know what are our themes, colors, flowers, and what kind of food are we serving up.
Okay, I know you know most of the first part.
So, I don't know if we necessarily have a theme. I'm just gonna go with basic white girl. Colors, I want to do mustard yellow for sure, gray, like a dark gray, and I was thinking like a maroonish color, like fall colors, because we're going to get married in October, but I kind of want to do pink. He said no on pink, but I'm still kind of trying on like light pink. But I know that I want mustard yellow and dark gray for sure. Flowers, I have no idea. Flowers apparently are really expensive, and I just want something to look nice. So, okay, so that stopped recording. I don't know where it cut me off, but I was talking about flowers, I think. So I don't really know what we're going to do for flowers yet. Like I said, we've not really done a lot of wedding planning. We need to sit down and like start nailing stuff down, but we live 2 hours away and he works full time. I'm in school and work, so we don't have a lot of time to discuss stuff. So, and right now he's trying to purchase us a house, so that's kind of taking the forefront. Food, you want to talk about it?
I am partial to like pizza and stuff like that, but I think at the end of the day, we're gonna have to do something that we can prep a lot of for a lot of people.
And pizza gets cold fast is what I've read.
Yeah.
So I've only like talked to a couple venues. Food is the most expensive thing in planning a wedding, and I'm not trying to drop. Like one person quoted us $15K for food. I'm not trying to pay that much money for just food. Like people can get McDonald's before they come. But I like the idea of having like food trucks. Like we'll say like this is how many people we can guarantee will be there. We'll pay this much per person. What can you give them? And if people want to purchase more food, they can. But I'm not trying to go broke over feeding people. So I like the idea of like a food truck, or I know someone else asked, is Chick-fil-A catering? I tried. Somebody said no. I think it would be bomb as heck to have Chick-fil-A cater a wedding just because that's so funny to me, but he said no. So, and the last question is a couple one. So is he a compatible sign? We looked this up last night. I have no freaking idea. I'm a Libra, you're Cancer.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were compatible, but it says they are. It gave us a lot of weird things. I'm not really into like zodiac signs and stuff, so I don't know if somebody wants to tell me in the comments if we're compatible or not. When or what moment did you know he was the one? I think the moment that sticks out to me, and you can answer this too, was when my appendix went bad last summer. I had been hurting for several days, and he was working in a factory over the summer, and I had told him, like, dude, I'm not feeling well, and I had told him that my doctor had suggested I go to the hospital, and he had said, like, right before he went back on break, like, I hope it's not your appendix. Well, it ended up being my appendix, and I had to stay overnight and have it removed, and he'd worked all day at this factory, and he drove 2 hours. He didn't get to me until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then he ended up missing work the next day to be with me. I think that moment sticks out to me so much because of the previous experience that I've had. I've never had somebody other than my family like drop everything and rush to be there with me for something like that. And like he pulled up the recliner in the hospital and was like, I remember him being like, I don't want to be this far away from you, or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote. I put it on Facebook, but he's like, I don't want to not be close to you doing this, because I was in a lot of pain, and especially when they took it out, like healing from that was awful. So that moment sticks out to me the most, of being like, holy shit, I think this person actually loves me and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. What moment did you know that I was the one?
So about the moment you got out of the car on our first date.
Somebody just made noises.
No, there's a lot of little things. It's the stuff where she shows that she cares about me the most, and it's the times where you really can tell that she's listened, or she kind of knows what's going on.
Thank you for saying I listen.
You do sometimes.
Do you have a theme picked out for your wedding party? I don't think we have a theme. I mean, I know that I want my bridesmaids to have, like, I want them to, I'm just going to pick a color and be like, just pick out a dress that matches this color. And then he kind of knows what he wants for his groomsmen.
Yeah, it's just going to be, I'm not going to make them go buy expensive pants, but the pants and shirts are all going to be the same color. And then their tie is going to match the corresponding bridesmaid.
We're not trying to, like, I've never been in a wedding. I'm going to be in Veronica's in November, but I always hear horror stories of, like, people being awful to their bridal party, and I'm not trying to make people go broke, and I'm not trying to make people wear shit they don't want to wear, or, like, be uncomfortable, because even though it's our day, I want the people standing next to us, or sitting next to us, I think we're going to have our bridal party sit. I want them to feel comfortable too, and I want them to enjoy our day just as much as we do. So I'm not trying to make anyone go broke, and I'm not trying to make anyone feel uncomfortable or be uncomfortable, but we'll nail that down closer to time, because I feel like wedding planning right now is just, there's a lot of uncertainties with it. Are you getting Chick-fil-A to cater? Maybe I can crack him after this. Have you started to save money for planning a wedding? Yes and no. So he had set a budget up for us to start saving, but then we realized that I'm going to be moving, like with him. Like, I'm moving to where he lives now in May, and I'll let him talk more about this, but he has been looking for an accessible place for us to live, and there are none.
Yeah.
So
with there not being any like real accessible places to live available, at least where I'm from, I decided that it would probably be best just to buy a house instead of rent one that is non-accessible and then modify it to be what we need it to be. So in buying a house, it makes it a lot harder for me to also save money for the wedding, because all of this cash that I've been putting back, I'm now going to have to put into a house. So it's not like we had a lot saved up and I'm throwing all of it away, but it's going to be a good chunk of it's going to have to be used for that.
But I also don't want to go, I've said this from the very beginning, I don't want to go into debt for our wedding, and I don't want to spend a lot of money on our wedding because it could be used to buy a house. So it just so happens that we're thinking about buying a house before we get married, just because it's the easiest thing for us. Sorry, my nose is running. But yeah, so we've started saving. I have money saved back, but that may end up going to do remodels and stuff like that on the house. So I also want to know, well, I don't want to know, but I want to tell them how you proposed, and did I know or was it a surprise?
Okay, I'll go ahead and let you tell your part.
Okay, so I just talked over you, I'm sorry. I knew something was sketchy because he gave me a bracelet from Zales when we had Christmas with his sister, and his family was being really weird. They were like, I hope you weren't expecting a ring, like, oh, don't get your hopes up. And normally his family doesn't make comments like that at all, but both his mom and his sister kept being like, hope you weren't thinking it was a ring. And I remember being like, Jacob, does your family not know that we've like talked about this kind of stuff? And I was talking with my sister and her boyfriend about it one night over dinner, and I was like, they're being so weird. I'm like, I don't think Jacob's gonna propose, like, because he had told me, little turd, he just bought a car, and he said, like, Sabrina, I don't have the money to buy you a ring because I just bought that car. Or no, he didn't say because he said, I don't have the money to buy you a ring. And I remember thinking, like, you just bought a Mini Cooper. If you can buy a Mini Cooper, why can't you buy me a ring? But I wasn't like, I didn't want to be like a jerk, so I didn't say anything. I just thought it in my head, and now that it's happened, I don't feel so bad saying it. But so his parents' thing was kind of weird, and then he had asked me like it was probably about a week or 2 weeks before, if he could come down in the middle of the week to have dinner with me, which didn't really raise a red flag with me because we talked about like having dinner during the week, like meeting halfway and then having dinner so we could spend more time together. But what was weird about it, he proposed on December 19th, so we would have had that whole next week off for Christmas together. But I just thought he was trying to be romantic, and I was like, are you coming all the way here? And he was like, yeah, no problem. So that day, I actually got ready. I did not want to get ready, but something told me that I needed to. Thank God. And he had said, like, hey, I'm going to come, like, right after work. And so I expected him to be here at, like, 7 or 8. And it took him forever to get here. Like, normally it's 2 hours. It took him like 4 hours. So I called him because I hadn't ate all day, and I was getting super ticked off because it was taking him so long. And so I called him and I'm like, hey, where are you at? And he said he was about 15 minutes away. And I was like, okay. So I'm like waiting by the door, waiting for him to get here. And it took him 45 minutes to get here from when he said he was 15 minutes away. So I'm like, something's not right. He kept being like, oh, sorry, I had to pee. Sorry, there was a car accident and it set me back. Whatever, I'm fine. Well, I see him come up and he gets here and I'm like, oh, you look really handsome. And he like shuts the door in my apartment. Like, so he gets in, he like shuts the door, and he was like, hey, I got you something. And I was like, okay. And he pulls out a bag of Airheads, and I was like, okay, I'll just eat those when I get home. And I threw him on the chair, and he was like, are you still mad? And I don't remember what I said. He said that I said kind of.
Yeah.
And then he like starts getting down, and and I was like, are you serious? And he pulls out the ring and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, right now? He was like, right now. And then I just started crying, and he said, will you marry me? And I didn't speak for a few seconds, and then I finally was like, yes. And I got so excited that when he like showed me the ring, I just put it on. I looked at it, or I didn't put it on, I started to put it on. I'm like, you're supposed to do this. So I let him put it on, and then I started crying with how beautiful it was. Sorry, my throat is so dry.
The reason why I was so late is because I was just so nervous. People can tell you that, oh, I'll never be nervous when I propose. They're lying. You will be. You will always be nervous. It's one of those things, I think, where you're, no matter how certain you are, you're going to be like, well, what if she says no? Part of the reason why it took me so long to get there is, from when I get off work at 5 o'clock, to when I can get here. The earliest I can get here is if I leave work exactly at 5, and I start heading this way, it'll be 8 o'clock because of the time zone change. So I already knew like it's going to be a little bit of a later dinner. That's fine. Well, I left work I left work, ran by the house, grabbed my phone charger, and left. Then I went to go leave town, and for whatever reason, I kept having to stop because I had to pee because I have a little bit of a nervous bladder. So I kept having to go to the bathroom. And the whole time I'm driving, I'm nervous, and I'm going the speed limit, like tops. You know, I kept looking down, and I was slowing down and stuff like that because I was getting lost in thought, and I wasn't really paying attention to driving.
We keep having to stop and start because everything keeps going wrong. So go on.
So when you propose, you will be nervous. You will be scared. You won't. You'll be handshaky, clammy. They'll be hot and cold at the same time and defy the laws of physics. But when you are leading up to the proposal, like I didn't have the ring in my possession yet because I had bought it at the Zales here in Terre Haute. So when I bought it here, and it needed to be resized because I didn't have the size for her finger, which was fine. So I told them to go ahead and have it resized. It takes 3 weeks. So that was 3 weeks, and then as soon as they told me it was available, I made the plan to go out to dinner with her so I could pick the ring up. And that way she knew I was in Terre Haute. She didn't know I just stopped by Terre Haute and picked the ring up and left. That way she knew I showed up, we could have dinner, and I could leave. My plan wasn't even to propose. But the second I got to Zales, and they cleaned the ring for me there before they handed it to me, which took more time. But they cleaned the ring, and they handed it to me. And after they gave it to me, I felt something like in my chest, like my heart started beating faster. And I knew like, I can't hold on to this. You know, I can't keep this a secret long enough to where she wouldn't know what was going on. And that was the one thing she wanted, was it to be a surprise. So I made sure that it was a surprise by doing it in the most panicky, unorthodox way I possibly could. But it worked out, so.
Also, my heat just kicked on, so sorry if you hear that. Yeah, I knew that there was like clues, but I didn't expect it to happen when it happened. I had already said like I wanted to be a surprise and I want to get engaged on a holiday. So he had messaged me like a couple days before and was like, is Christmas Eve a holiday? And I'm like, why are you asking that? And he said his coworker wanted to propose. This coworker didn't want to propose, I don't think. I think it was him trying to be nosy and not make it obvious. But there were little things like that. But overall, yeah, I was definitely surprised. And yeah, so I think that's it. Do you have anything else you want to say? Sorry if this was weird because we had to keep starting and stopping and my heat's now kicked on. But thank you guys so much for watching and submitting questions. I plan to do more wedding planning videos when we get more like in-depth into wedding planning. What am I saying? So if you guys want to know any more about that, let me know in the comments below what you guys want to know, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!